I'll tell you a story that I forgot all about until I was telling someone about moving here. So when we moved here, there was minor miracles to get us a house, and that's a story in itself. So we were able to purchase a house, and then we were selling the one in New York, and I had a buyer, but and we sold that, without a realtor. And we had done some renovation, so the city of Yonkers wanted to sign off on it because, and we hadn't done the whole permitting thing before, so we were doing the whole permit thing, and we were gonna like pay the fine, whatever, just on our way out, whatever. It'll just get rolled into whatever we make on the sale. So the inspector would come, and then it would be like this thing or that thing, small things, and then he would like go for long periods of time where he couldn't come see, and there was like silly things like, oh, you took the gutters out, well, you're gonna have to put in rain barrels. Rain barrels is not a permanent solution. Okay, fine, I'll buy rain barrels. What does it take, And it's just dragging on and on. We decided to just move anyway, and I figured out a way to get a real estate attorney to handle things by power of attorney, long distance and all that. New York is not easy, as those who are in New York know. New York is not easy. You can't do these things except by great effort. So it's just like, constantly remembering to call, and then it's just this long process of just being so frustrated because the buyer's waiting, he's ready to go. Thank God he was very determined to buy. So months and months go by. Literally, we've already moved away. Another 3 months go by. We're here in Myrtle Beach, and it's like Christmas. And I have this epiphany. We're driving to the library for some program, some musician or something, and I put my hand on Cliff's lap. I'm like, he's driving, and I'm like, oh my God, let's send love to this inspector. And it was just a total change. I just sent nothing but pure love, pure Christmas love, just zero need for anything from him, just sending pure love and Christmas cheer. And so I call in the next day. I forget why. It was still not yet Christmas, it was still a business day. And the assistant person says, oh my God, he's in the hallway, let me get him now. And she talks to him, and he comes and he inspects the place the next day. We got the permit in 2 days, and it was just like boom, boom, boom. I was like, dang it, but do I have to learn the hard way or what?
Yeah, no,
It was like 8 months of struggle, and then I send him love, and ta-da.
yeah,
That's how we felt about today with Hannah and the plane. We just
Yeah.
repeated Baba's name and Baba's name, and literally 1 minute before the plane took off, they got on. So, Baba's there to give us the fright or because if it all went smooth, it went smooth. Da, da,
yeah.
da.
No story to tell.
No story, right?
No story.
It has some drama there.
Well, Bob has got so many more options than we do for every situation.
Mhm.
If we would avail ourselves of it, but usually you get kind of stuck in a corner, and then you cry out.
So here's the interesting question. So let's say we look at it as we were looking at that Baba had this whole thing happen with our daughter and then released it just in time. We can, because we're introspective and Baba people, ask what are the lessons here. But Hana is introspective, but not a Baba person. So a non-Baba person, I don't know that they go to the lessons learned aspect as quickly as we do. You think,
Yeah.
they do,
Um,
Martha?
When we get the details of really what went down, maybe there was a lesson learned. We don't know.
But I think that the lesson in the largest sense is that we all come to God single file. It's all our individual responsibility to come to God in whatever definition that means to us. And if everyone else has a different definition, that's neither here nor there. You know what I mean? Like, doesn't mean
I
anything.
believe she calls us frantic so that we will
Pray for her.
pray for her. Like
Yeah.
she
Yeah.
doesn't believe in God, and then she'll call me up and she'll say, My
To intercede on behalf of God.
have problems with their pregnancy. Will you put them in the prayer book for me? And, will you send them Reiki? And so, they'll
Yeah.
figure it out in their own time. I'm just grateful I'm here with you all and Bubba, because my life is significantly different. And like you, dear Angela, sometimes it takes us months to get it, but once we do, he's just amazing.
Months?
Yeah.
It took him months.
Oh,
It took her months to
Yeah.
just send the dude
Right.
love, and so.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
But it always, when we get it, it gets fixed pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah. That's the amazing thing, right? Just 2 days later.
And you can always do, I'm big on if you didn't do something the way you, as thoroughly as you wish, from not right now, you can continue that. You know what I mean?
Right.
Whatever lack of, whatever love that you didn't express, you can do it right from where you are. And it fills in all of it can cover some of your mistakes, and that love actually takes the charge out of it. Like suppose you had like an argument in the middle of your daughter's visit, and in her it's still charged, but by sending love and everything, it can erode away that charge, and she actually won't be as big a deal, because love has kind of taken some of the charge out of it. So there's a lot you can do that you may not have done at the time. I believe in that.
It's a lot we do at the time. I mean, it's amazing how much I've learned. You don't know till you know. It's really the truth. Like once you get it, then it stays in your brain, and you hope you remember it for the next time. But
Yeah.
sometimes you don't, and you have to do it all over again. And it's really interesting. But we have something that a lot of people don't have, and that's we get to depend on him, and he gets to be there for us, and he really is there for us. I can't really explain it, but like I had a trauma in my early life that's given me horrific anxiety when I separate from people. It could just be Diane going to work, and I get really sick inside, and I talk about it, I write about it, I talk to Bubba about it, and I get through it in short order, but it's there all the time, and it sucks, to be honest with you. And so a friend of Hannah's, actually, who's older and a therapist, talked about this learning thing he was doing called EMDR. I don't know if you all know about it. And I told him I have this thing, and he said, I would love to help you with it. You want to try it? So 3 weeks ago, we did the session, and you kind of tap on yourself. And then this morning, as much as I needed a break, my kid leaving me after not being with me for 19 months was excruciating. And they go to the airport. It's too emotional for me for the airport. So the three of them take off, and I sit on the couch doing my thing and bringing all the people in that I'm supposed to bring in. And it dissipated like really quickly. And that happened. And I wrote the fellow that helped me, and I said, and he knows Hannah really well. And I said, this was amazing. And he was so happy it was helping me. So it was a gift, how timely it was. It was like 3 weeks ago we did the process, and she came 2 weeks ago, and now I got to use it on a profound experience, and it worked.
Yeah.
What is that called? RMDR?
EMDR.
Okay.
And you can look it up online. It's It's some kind of emotional trauma release. It's a way of releasing an emotional trauma.
And it's kind of reprogramming.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Through mechanical, through your eyes, or tapping.
Yeah.
A visual that you follow.
I think one thing that comes up for me as I contemplate what you were asking earlier is about, how to give your daughter some of that newfound joy you have with all the extra connection to Baba. I think that, ultimately we have to teach independence to our kids. You know what I mean? Like that's the hardest part. And the more that you have nurtured and done this for her is actually not been necessarily enhancing her own self-reliance, which, you know, of course, your parents, it's totally understandable.
And we only had one.
Yeah.
And we were older. And I mean, there were so many things. And we say all the time, maybe we overdid it, but it's interesting. The person that they brought home with them, they're, you know,
They're they
significant
friend.
of the, of the moment, is incredibly capable, and just they really balance. I don't know if it's for now or ever, but there's a good balancing. It was the first time the person themselves was grown up, and so it felt,
Yay.
yeah. So it's all moving along. It's just, and they
It's
did the
exciting.
calling. They called the airport and they took care of the food, and we didn't have to think about it, you know. So it does change.
But I want to say that I brought Baba in
Mhm.
probably 30 times more while they were here than I normally do, because I had to keep saying, Baba, please take this, you know, tell me what to do, when to do it, and how to say it. Just take over. And I swear we had our best visit.
Yeah. That's the other part of it. You know, we do this for ourselves. We do the reaching out for Baba for ourselves, but whether we realize it or not, we actually affect the other side of the conversation. That's, I think, what Jeff was saying, is that, you know, we can send love. It's affecting that other person. It's affecting the relationship, but we don't necessarily do anything. We're doing it for our own selves. We're doing it for our own peace of heart.
Well, and Baba does say the more you put at his feet, the better off we are. And so, and don't worry, be happy. So we're doing what he says.
That's
We're
it.
trying.
Yeah. Anything that links back to Baba is freeing us from sun scars right and left. You know, whether we know it or not.
Yeah.
I mean, the real just dissolves everything, and Baba is the real. And when you think of him, you're bringing the real into the false, and it evaporates the false to whatever degree. Yeah.
See me live in you in small ways of life. The everyday ritual of selfless harmony. The unsatisfied element in you is God, who needs you to be like him.
Beautiful. That was one of the things from Narina, was it?
Could be.
Uh,
I try to write down the sources, but there's so many that come so fast. I think maybe it was.
I think that's when she was transmitting Baba's messages from India.
Very good.
During the blue bus time.
Oh,
thank you,
I
Rosalie.
love that, Martha.
yeah.
That got me through the pandemic.
Yeah, I loved it. I love it too.
Yeah, because it's true. It's Baba going through it.
Did you see the blue bus time? Did you see?
It's from the blue bus time. It's from the article is called God Has to Be Manifested. And it's one of my favorite things.
Well, maybe I wrote it down from you then. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I think we can do a lot to change the charge of our past emotions. I mean, our past experiences, and rather than repeat the same charge. I mean, if we did something very unkind to somebody in third grade, you know, like dunking some woman's pigtail in your inkwell or something, but you did something, and every time you think about it, you feel that shame. Rather than just kind of repeat that shame year after year, when you think of it, that you can send love to that whatever that complex of emotion that's there, and so that you don't have to. That doesn't have to be one of those clouds kind of blocking the sun all the time. We can, I mean, that's one way Baba can clear up our past. I mean, because certainly we have done things. I have. I don't know about you guys. Things that just embarrassing to think of what I did. But I've had to go in there and with Baba's name and vacuum the stuff up, the mess up, so that you can be free now. Hey, so I think let's Ray, you got your kazoo there?
I do. I got my kazoo here. Yeah. The song is called "The Calling." It's about when we come to Baba and we're close, and then he does his honeymoon, the end of the honeymoon thing, and what it would be like when we reunite with him. And the image I have is that story. We'll probably know it, of Baba searching for that must, and the Mandali saying, no, just go a little bit more. And he was in that village. Oh, he just left. You know that story. So also, when they were like rolling on the ground, when they ran to each other, it's that thing. And so that's more or less how he set this up. And it ends with a quote.
Krishna.
Yeah, Krishna.
His name was Krishna, yeah.
And it ends with a bit of Hafiz from, I think someone can correct me if it's not, but I think it's from Hafiz that Dan Ladinsky did love poems from God at the end. So, Mir Baba. Ever since I heard the beloved's name. How's the sound?
Yeah, sounds good. Yeah.
I've been looking here and there, amazed to have found the love and to hear its wondrous sound. The beloved's name was so mystical. I felt I held it in my hands. But now you are hiding, no longer confiding. Oh, how I so wish I could dance for a moment in eternal atonement. Dance in a moment so pure. Oh, beloved one, take my hand again. Sing your songs of love once more. Breathe into this house of dust a sweet word to chase despair. I will hold to you, you will hold to me. We'll go running hand in hand, like a welcome season, without rhyming or reason. With your flute you'll be calling me home to embrace me. Such sublime serenade. How will that final act be? Call to the sea. Oh. says, "You know the true nature of your beloved? In his loving eyes, your every thought, words, and movement is always, always beautiful."
Beautiful, Ray.
Baba Dhamma, Baba Ki Jai.
Jai
Thank
Baba.
you. Thank you.
Right out of the heart. Boy,
Thank you. Jai
bless it.
Baba.
We got enough here to last for 700 years, folks. Okay, what do you think? Have a few moments of silence here? Yeah. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
I'm thinking tonight for the late night chat, some of you may not be up and at 'em, but on the topic being forgiveness. Forgiveness of ourselves and of others. The challenge of that with Baba. And so, you may wonder, with all this effort that we've been making, where does it all lead? And it's and I mean, I can feel, as we've been going along with this book, people are getting freer and freer inwardly. I can tell, I mean, just from my observation. But where does it all lead? Now, Darwin practically never said anything about his own experience. He would, you had to read between the lines. You had to kind of infer from the confidence that he spoke about some of these inner realities that he must be experiencing them. But he didn't talk about his own experience. But, except on one occasion for me, Baba gave me the passcode to break into Darwin's computer there. He was this took place in the refectory in the afternoon. Darwin was around 95 or 96 at the time. And, there were maybe 6 or 7 of us at this table, and Darwin was opposite on the other side of the table. And so what I said to him is, I said, "Darwin, you have a lot of bottles of rare wine in your cellar. And if you die, it's just going to go to your relatives. I think we should bring it up now and enjoy it. And you have been focused on Baba for the last 70 years, year in and year out, day in and day out, moment to moment. What is your experience now?" I don't know, this kind of came out, and he kind of got a kick out of it. So this is what he said. And it's kind of the culmination of what we're reading. He said, just as you breathe in and out all day, you don't say, now it's time to inhale, now it's time to exhale, now it's time to inhale. Everything, life eventually just unfolds automatically. And you're not trying to get things to go this way or that. And so consciousness is therefore freed up at the level of the world. It's no longer, in other words, it's no longer trying to get things to go this way or that. It's freed up. It goes up to the level of the spirit and out to the far corners of the universe. And you live in and through everyone. Now, I'm looking over at Darwin. I mean, we didn't have any reply to that. I mean, here's this wizened, elegant old gentleman saying such things. Something that he had never done in all the many years. that I had known him. And and what this book is about is withdrawing the tentacles of consciousness from being enmeshed in the world and being enmeshed in our little melodrama, our personal life, so that it's back. We're still aware of creation, but it's not being limited by being enmeshed in creation. So where does creation go? I mean, consciousness go? It goes all the way to the end of the universe. So as we kind of uncouple ourselves from the way we're snagged in this world, eventually we will have that great inner freedom that Darwin was talking about. So that's my little spiel.
So we're on page 112 of the book, page 66 of the PDF, the section called Denizens of the Deep.
Denizens of the Deep. Life is all comprehensive. Meher Baba explains that in right relationship to life and spirituality, we bring a certain enlightened attitude to everything in life. In other words, we can deal with every facet of life with spiritual insight rather than think of everything as only material. Most of us are living on the surface of the ocean when we are really denizens of the deep. We have a deeper inner nature where real values are sorted out, and we can become aware of this. We are meant to become aware of this. Our approach to almost all situations has to undergo a change. Our desire nature, our wanting machine, discolors our values. Throughout our lives, we look for excitement, experiences of adventure, all kinds of varied experiences. We tend to think, what am I going to get out of it? What pleasure is in it for me? So, to do something without any thought of getting anything out of it for ourselves is a radical change. When we finally do this, however, we discover that we get real value out of it, real fulfillment. We undergo a change in our psychological understanding and in our process of overcoming our weaknesses. This is all part of our journey through life. True, we can get much help from God or the Master through divine love and grace. But at the same time, we have to learn right valuation. We must learn to see through many of the things that attract and even enslave our minds and our desire nature so that our heart, our spirit will be free and our insight will be clear. It takes us a long time to funnel through a process of elimination into the real values, to become awake to the life within. But it is possible for everyone. Eventually, worldly things no longer attract us, and we get free of those entanglements.
So any any comments? Any questions? Any examples?
Jai Baba, everyone.
Jai Baba, yeah.
Really, Jai Baba. These words, they're very, very deep and powerful. These are extraordinary important words. I hear Darwin saying to us through Baba's love, have an enlightened spiritual state of mind. We know we're not God realized. We know we don't have the consciousness of, we don't have Christ consciousness or Baba consciousness, but he's saying something very important. I'm talking to me, and I think to you, but Darwin's saying to me, approach everything I do with a state of mind that's all loving. How do I sustain such a consciousness when a worldly possibility comes in my way? Do I get caught in Maya's tentacles? Or do I see it as one of 1,000 different ways of seducing the mind, distracting me, contracting me emotionally, and all the different words we can use? Life is all comprehensive. Meher Baba explains that in the right relationship to life and spirituality, when we bring a certain enlightened attitude to everything in life. For me, that's one of my spiritual practices, to continually move in presence, to continually move as much as I can, as if Baba is right there, because he is. I can't move in Baba's presence, but I can let Baba move through me. And that's why I use those words. I try to move with presence. I try to move with such spiritual attention as if I'm serving Baba directly. Or any of you here at any time, in whatever ways that might present itself. That is such a crucial piece, because he says, you may not be realized, but still approach everything with the very words he uses, a certain enlightened attitude to everything in life. In other words, we can deal with every facet of life with the spiritual insight that we have been blessed to have. We can deal with every facet of life with spiritual insight, rather than think of everything only as material. What's in it for me? Oh, I've got this situation. No. What's in it for the other person or the other persons? Have that enlightened attitude. Boy, that's like diamonds and emeralds and pearls. They can't match that in the wisdom and the preciousness of those words. I know I've overstated it, but I'm trying to imprint it even more so I can do that more and more. It's not easy, but it's very possible. And of course, if I do this more and more, I will feel like a much more, I guess the word is happy person.
Beautiful. Yeah. Well said. You know, a couple of times Darwin has used the term real values. What does real values mean? Who can kind of give an idea of what real values are? I mean, that's, yeah, what are the real values? Anybody want to venture?
For me, I can only say, if something doesn't either give me love or the opportunity to share love, it just doesn't have the kapow for me anymore. It just doesn't. And you get to know those people that you are with, where you have that coming and going of that energy in a healthy way. And even if it's, going to the dentist or buying a car or whatever, I mean, it's not the kissy huggy love, but it's that, they're listening to you and you're listening to them, and you don't have to be right. It's not about that. You just walk away feeling better than when you walked in. That's all I got.
Yeah, like a real give and take of love.
Yeah.
Give and take of this happening.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Beautiful.
natural. It's just natural.
Rita?
Hi, Jay Baba. I agree with what Jeff said. It's so wonderful to feel like we can have a toolbox now that we can use in order to be more aware of and feel God's presence, feel Baba's presence. And I looked up valuation. I mean, I kind of knew what it meant, but it says an estimation of something's worth, especially one carried out by a professional appraiser. So I guess we're all professional appraisers, and we're appraising, the right valuation. What is, and we know, I think we've all been around long enough to know what the right valuation is, and it's just such a wonderful tool. And I just love, I don't know how many times I've used since I've read this in the book, the phrase about the tentacles. It's, I'm the visualization of being able to pull the tentacles of your consciousness back into yourself and away from the material world is something that, it's a tool that I've not only used, but I've shared with people in other places. And it just makes such sense to me. And I'm just so grateful for this book and for going through it twice, because like Jess said, I think, as we've gone through it twice, most of us have really gotten to a deeper level and layer with this book. And I'm just grateful for it. Thank you.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah. Oh, it's funny. It's a book. You say, I say to somebody, have you read the book Effort and Grace, or do you have it? He says, yeah, I've read it about 6 or 7 times. I mean, how many times? I mean, who reads a book 6 or 7 times? But it's that so valuable, and it keeps that, challenging our our conceptions and misconceptions and everything. Well, I wanted to say something about real values. I mean, what I gather from Darwin is real values are synonymous with the divinely human qualities of empathy, compassion, humor, honesty, beauty, creativity. All of the very best human, those are the real values. Ones that are, that come from, well, they really come from the heart of hearts. They come right from Baba into us. And the one thing that I think of is people may not feel they're so close to Baba. We are really close to Baba. Anytime we are generous or kind or helpful or empathetic, it's Baba right there at our elbow, watching and witnessing this, because these are qualities that are coming right from Baba. It's not like Baba's way over there somewhere and we're down here kind of trying to express these qualities. These qualities come right from Baba. So we are much closer to Baba than we would realize. I mean, we say if we're naturally generous, we don't even think that, we may not really realize every time we're generous is Baba, getting this done through us. We think, oh, I'm just generous. I've always kind of been generous. So we kind of take it for granted, not knowing that Baba is right there with us. So he's closer to us than through these divine qualities, these real values, than we might think.
As far as values go, it reminds me of what Baba said to Katie when someone asked her what she gained from being with Baba. And Baba said, they put the wrong question to you. What have you lost? Is the correct question.
Yeah.
And that's where our values lie. We feel like we lose things, but we've never lost anything. Whatever he takes, he can take. I watched my house burn down, and it's like, okay, Baba, you can have it. Thank you for the insurance that we actually did pay, and we weren't sure why it was burning down. But Thank you so much. Those things. But he takes, it's what have you lost, and what do we value? Anyway, that was my thought.
Yeah, that reminds me of another quote from Dr. Duncan. Someone asked, what have you gained all these 20 years that you've been with Baba? He said, it's not what I've gained, but what I've lost in the form of excess mental baggage.
Wow.
That's what.
Yeah.
That was his.
Yeah, it's true.
I'd like to jump in with a quick 2 cents. I remember Baba he was telling a teaching story, a Sufi story, about a master who would visit this very poor village, and the merchants, they'd all be trying to get in with him and whatever, and they'd offer him, like, here, take a sample of this, and in exchange they would ask for something from the master, and the master and all his disciples would be coming through town and you know passing out favors, this, that, and the other, and then they'd get to the poorest person in town, and he lived in this tiny, tiny hovel, and instead of asking for anything, he would always be sitting them down and feeding them whatever he had, and he was just always so generous. And instead of giving, I'm telling this very badly anyway, instead of giving him greater material wealth, this poor man, this lovely man, would lose something else very valuable. He lost his wife. And then the next time the master came through, he's giving these merchants more success and more wealth. And then he'd get to that poor house, and then his son would die. And the disciples were just looking around like, why? Eventually they sat their master down and said, why are you giving these merchants everything they want, and this beautiful man who gives even down to the last grain of rice, he gives it away to us, and you're not giving him anything to raise him up? How amazing that this is the one who loves you the most and loves God the most, and he's not benefiting. In fact, he seems to be losing someone every time we come. It's bad news. And the master said, you don't understand. His wife and his son were the only things that were holding him to this world. I had to take them away so that he could achieve God realization.
Wow, beautiful.
And it sends chills, because, Paula, you talk about so much loss in your life, and I just think, wow, you are so spiritually progressed. You have no idea.
Yeah.
Jai Baba.
Lovely. Now that we are denizens of the deep, what kind of work are we going to do in the world?
Work in the world. Meher Baba's discourses show us how to diminish ego consciousness and develop detachment. These are skills allowing us to be busy and efficient outwardly, yet free inwardly, retaining our spiritual consciousness and identity. We can be very active outwardly and very active inwardly at the same time. We put our thought level on our work in the world, yet keep our feelings on God within. I found, especially through the years when I was working, that I could keep my mind on my job, but my heart could still be free, and I could still be in contact with Baba within. I could feel close to him through the heart center. So I would think of him by feeling him. Just as we can learn how to juggle 3 oranges, so can we learn how to keep our heart open while putting our mind on our work. It is like being in love with someone. While working in the world, one's heart remains focused on one's beloved. Jai Baba.
Jai Baba.
I just got this thought, Jeff, when you read Effort and Grace, did it surprise you that he had all this information and this way of looking at the world? Because each section is just so dense, it's almost hard for my brain to wrap it around. But you were in so many sessions with him, and he was in his 90s when he wrote this. I mean,
yeah.
Was Baba speaking through him? I mean, or did this sound?
Baba would sometimes ask him to give talks. I mean, the talks that he gave were very powerful, during Baba's lifetime. But we heard all of that is in this book. We pretty much heard from the early 70s. I mean, when he was young, when he was must have been around, I don't know how old he was, but and a lot of this book were from questions we asked him. He would have been content just with his companionship with Baba, but then we would found that we could kind of probe him and get these inspired things out of him. So over the years, there were a number of us that, would ask questions, not just intellectual questions, but questions about the inner life. And a lot of that that's here, I heard from way back, and he had it in a way, he kind of distilled those things. Because he would, we even smuggled a tape recorder into his discourse meetings, because he didn't want to be we smuggled it, and then we had it, and then it was too good to to throw away, and they became some of the sections in this. He used to go on these inspired tangents. He would be asked the question, well, what does it mean to surrender to Baba? And he would just go way off on a very profound explanation of what surrender is, or whatever it happened to be. And so that it would depart from it might be triggered by what's happening in the discourse that's being read, but then he would go off. We waited for these inspired tangents that he would take. But he was very clear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have any of those tape recordings?
Yeah. In fact, those tape recordings are, much of that is in this book. Yeah. I know who, I'll tell you sometime.
Yeah. And Shraddha?
So I remember, Jeff, just from how you said about Darwin, and he would just go on this beautiful discourse. I remember when my dad was around last year or something, he would be curious about our effort and grace readings because he's not very comfortable understanding the English language and slang. He would keep asking me, so what did you guys read about today? And I remember I kind of briefly started we would kind of read out some sections of the book, and I would translate it to him in Marathi language. And, somehow I found that the way I explained it, it was just beyond me. I found that I myself wasn't capable of doing that. And it felt like Baba was doing it all, and it wasn't me translating it for them. And I've experienced it every single time I've done the translations for them. It feels like I didn't really have that capability or even understanding to start with. It felt like Baba was somehow speaking through me. It was just very amazing.
Yeah. Hey, you might be the one to translate this into Marathi.
Yeah.
It could, just do one little section at a time, and even just send them off one section at a time, because they're very, very helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, beautiful. He wasn't attached to any kind of copyright or anything with this book. He wanted it given out for free.
That would be amazing to have Effort and Grace in Marathi.
Yeah. Yeah. You that just that sense that you get, go with it. See where it takes you. Yeah. Okay.
All right. The exercise of meditation.
Before meeting Meher Baba, I used to meditate a great deal, mostly through inner seeking and dying to myself within. Many people approach meditation as a means of attaining something. For others, meditation itself can lead to a blissful state, but not union with God, because they empty the mind of everything, even an awareness of God. When we still the mind, we get bliss, but not God. So we have to keep our minds just active enough to keep our minds on God. One of the meditations Meher Baba suggested was that we tried to wake up Baba within and make him conscious of who he is and what he is within us. It is a curious thing that just thinking about him and tuning in to him brings great light to one's inner consciousness. And with this comes a sense of inner security. Strive to realize the significance of Baba's omnipotence, omnipresence, and omniscience. If he really has all these qualities, what does that mean in relation to our spiritual unfoldment? Contemplating this can open up a great realm within each one of us, because if he is all these things, he is able to do miraculous things within us.
Any comments?
Well, there's so much wisdom in this. Each of the small paragraphs had something to remember. I felt that this is very incredible advice, that we should not make our minds completely still, but just active in us enough to keep an awareness of God. I mean, isn't that the simplest and most amazing? How many meditation techniques are out there? And that one sentence, is key. I mean, I did so much meditation where I just blissed out before I came to Baba. And I think, basically it was wasted time. I was blissed out. Yeah. I got that experience to see that then when I came to Baba, this particular way of his putting it, I've never thought of that particularly. Just enough aware of God, thinking of God, but not like letting the mind be busy. So I think that's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Here,
Darwin used to talk about there's peace of mind and there's also peace of heart. It's a deeper peace of heart is much more difficult to achieve than peace of mind. Because peace of heart means you have to harmonize all your emotions, not just your thoughts. Any other? This is very, this idea of try to wake Baba up within and make him conscious of who he and what he is in us. That's a very subtle thought. Anybody can speak to that. It's in the second paragraph.
Well, I also liked where he says that this brings a sense of inner security. That's a way of knowing that it's just like through the meditation itself, through tuning into this deeper place. So it's a way of knowing maybe that we're on track, so that we'll feel a deeper sense of inner security.
Yeah, excellent. Yeah, once we contact that, we know we're on the right track. That helps immensely.
Because for me, my insecurity is always of the mind, not of the heart. So, what you said, Jeff, before.
That's deep insight right there, Gabriella. I think the definition of insecurity is actually a mind state.
But now Darwin would say about, in order to get to that insecurity, that anxiety at the mental level, it has its root is in the heart level. So you drop the periscope down and see what emotion is creating the anxiety. And that's and then give that to Baba as best we can. But anyway, there are some hands up.
The answer to the question, to even talk about that paragraph, it is almost impossible to really give some kind of a really insightful, sharp answer. I mean, we try to do that. the only thing I was thinking of, sometimes somehow my being is allowed to get really quiet. And sometimes it just spontaneously seems to happen that I feel Baba deep within my whole being. I think I'm going to take more opportunities, even in meditation, to just let myself, and I hesitate to use the word myself, because I'm using the word I, which is egoic, myself. I mean, this is all very egoic, but I think you know what I'm trying to say. With the words I, but this is all part of the fumbling answer to just humble whatever this person is inside of my mind and my emotions, as you said, Jeff. That I'm going to work on that too, Jeff, to let the anxiety, and I wrote down what you said because it's very important, drop into the emotions and see how they relate to anxiety, and eventually just let them go. But to just experience beloved Baba by just having that intention and allowing who's ever talking here now to just allow myself to feel Baba all the deeper than I've been able to, because a lot of this is so beautiful that I try to intellectually grasp it, but then I more than intellectually grasp it. I begin to really feel it and feel it more. But these words just reminding me, allow yourself to drop into a deeper place of Baba's love, the omniscience, the omnipotence, all of those omnis. And we have the word Om, I just realized, from all of the omnipotent, omnipresent, and then Om. But just to allow. Once again, these words by Darwin are, it's as if Darwin is here talking with us, and he is. I'm so glad he tape recorded these as much as he could. I mean, speaking of always wanting a wise mentor to be there at times in your life and just give you the assurance so your insecurities take a little vacation and then a little longer vacation and then they finally let go of. It's like Darwin is here. I mean, I really feel, I know this sounds like almost like this, well, what's with it? I feel so fortunate that Darwin is with us through his words, through his spirit. Yeah. Who could say anything? I've never heard this kind of wonderful spiritual guidance. And once again, I'm fumfering around. There's a word, fumfering around. I'm groping, because I can't say it as well as other people can here. But I think you know what I'm feelingly trying to say.
Yeah.
It's all about
Beautiful.
Feeling, letting go, getting into that very quiet place and saying, Baba, please let me feel you deeper. I'm surrendering to you right now. I love you. And whatever words you say to allow that to happen, that's what those words seem to evoke in me.
Beautiful. Yeah. The getting in touch with the ground of our being, which is Baba, really. But the kind of ground, I mean, it's, yeah, the substrata.
Okay, Baba. I was thinking of Baba's words. Only repetition of my name will suffice to free the whole world from its entanglements. And I want to couple this with a quote from Lord Mayor. It even gave the page 5100. You must understand that whenever Baba gives out words for his lovers to use and read, he attaches a spiritual energy to them, something like an atomic spiritual bomb. Then when one reads those words, even if he doesn't understand even one word of what he reads, a part of the spiritual energy will be absorbed by that person. And this energy will be very important for that person in his spiritual progress. And when I think of that, even Baba says even Baba repeats his name, he's made it so easy. So I get back to the kickoff thing of the name because I mean, it's an easy one. 2 syllables, quick, out of the mouth, you know. Yeah.
The name is the name of the game.
Yeah, I mean, he's made it so easy. So, you know, and then this thing that, I mean, we don't have to understand the name. We know it's his name, but yeah, it's just so fabulous. You know, there's so much we don't understand.
I think of his name as kind of like a lozenge, and as it melts in your mouth, it kind of melts melts you. Anyway,
it's just wanted to when I read that second paragraph, one of the meditation Mayor Baba suggested was that we try to wake up Baba within and make him conscious of who he is and what he is within us. And it just struck me as like so intimate. And that's all I want to say. So like, what? So just, wow. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
yeah. You know, the word Baba, besides being father and baby and everything, it also means the intimate one. Baba is the intimate one. It's another the definitions. I think Marta is next.
I was wondering, Jeff, if you could say more about this piece of heart. You said to go within and see what emotion is causing anxiety. Is that with every emotion to go within? Does that mean that you're working on the piece of heart as opposed to what?
Well, there's peace of mind.
Oh yeah, peace of mind.
But which is kind of more on the surface. I mean, there's nothing wrong with peace of mind, but peace of heart means that you've been able to integrate your emotions. Well, you've been able to really give your emotions over to Baba so that they lose a lot of the charge and the conflicting quality of it. They can live in the same heart without fighting each other. You know what I mean? That the emotions can be there, and we don't get, our consciousness doesn't get all entangled with them. It's not like you get rid of all emotions. It's just that you don't fight them. And if you feel a little jealous, you let that, it comes up and you let it go. Or you can let it go to Baba, and then you feel a little bit of anger, and then you feel a little bit of boredom. These things are going through, but you're not getting entangled with them.
So,
but if one emotion comes along and it disturbs you, then that's an opportunity to give that as deeply as you can to Baba, so that it doesn't have the charge every time it comes by. But go ahead. You.
I was gonna. I'm Diane and Terry. Could I use you as an example? So.
Yeah.
So Diane and Terry had this situation with their daughter, and it was stressful, and they decided to give it to Baba and see what he did with it. So that would be something about working with a piece of the heart, because they had the feeling it was upsetting, but instead of going into it and calling and worrying and getting upset, they decided to give it to Baba and just see where it kind of unfolded. Is that kind of the idea?
Oh yeah, that's a beautiful thing. I mean, the shortcut is to give it directly to Baba. You know, directly to Baba. But if it doesn't seem to be getting resolved in that way, then we have to do stuff on our side. Maybe to go as deeply as we can, deeper into it, and then give it to Baba. I mean, Darwin used to say, you can't heal what you don't feel. The deeper the feeling, the deeper the healing. It's not like, oh, Baba, take my jealousy. Well, you got to feel it. You got to have it in your hand to give to him. So getting into it deeply, and he will take it. Anything you give, I mean, Darwin used to say, anything you give to Baba is gone forever. But that's that one layer. But there's a layer behind it that's it looks exactly like the one you gave him. Give that one. And it's just a very piecemeal sort of a thing. But the other thing, the most important thing Darwin said is, as you give things to Baba and he dissolves them, you make more room in your heart for Baba to live. And that is so that eventually he is inhabiting your heart, and then he lives through you, and then you don't have to get stuck living your own life. It comes from he finally gets a chance to have a look. He gets to be a little more in the driver's seat rather than trying to rescue you from all these dangerous wild times on the freeway. Anyway, good question.
Two thoughts. One is, he spoke of omniscience, omnipotence, and omnipresence. And I'm thinking those are like really nice keys to this idea of keeping one's mind just active enough. He tells us what we can do, what we can actually use. Those are really big words. I have problems with those words. So I just wrote down all power, omnipotence, all presence, omnipresence, and all knowing, omniscience. Because I can meditate on that. Those other words, they just too big. So I don't know, I thought I would mention that. The other thing was, we're talking about whether it's, insecurity of mind versus insecurity of depth of pain in the heart. What's that wonderful quote that Baba said about mind moving too quickly is insanity? Mind moving too slow, or mind moving slowly is must. And mind in the middle is the normal man. Did I get that basically right?
Mind working normal is man, and mind stopped is God.
Mind stopped is God.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I just want to throw that in there in the mix, this discussion of what is this insecurity of mind. For me, when I really think of my most insecure mind, it's basically insanity. And my most insane. So then I can hardly slow down enough. I have to slow down enough so that I could even go into the heart. Like I could, that would be a really good time to slow down the mind, I think, for me. And then maybe I could go into my heart to feel. But I can't get to my heart when I'm going so fast that I can't stop, so to speak.
Yeah. That, say like you're really worried about something up here. There is a counterpart at the heart level. I mean, up here you're worried about in its past, present, and future. You're in time, and when you're in time, you're in space. Like, oh, how am I going to avoid this? I got to go here. I got to go there. But that has a counterpart down below. There's an anxiety that's feeding them. Now, that anxiety that you're feeling is in the present moment. It's the mind. When the mind comes down, it puts it in time and space. But if you could just put your awareness on the anxiety at the heart level, you are in the present, and you are actually whole. You are actually complete, even though even though you don't like feeling that way. But there's a wholeness about it, and you're staying in the present. The moment the mind comes in, then it puts it in time and space, and then it becomes much more complicated.
And it's running away from the heart.
Yeah, it's running away. It's really an escape. So to stay in the uncomfortableness of the heart and give that to Baba is the kind of life that Darwin was talking about. You know, it's a very rich life.
Psychologist, really.
What's that?
Master psychologist. He was really a master psychologist.
Yeah.
Jeff, what you said, you can't heal what you can't feel. And the deeper you feel, the deeper you heal. I think it's very important to do a lot of forgiveness, letting go. I think there's a lot of things that happen during any given week or month where feelings are going through me and just about everybody, whether it's the environment or it's politics or it's just a dozen other things. And I'm feeling emotions. Why aren't they? Why aren't they? Why aren't they? But there are other emotions that I've been working on, even successfully. I mentioned this, I believe, last week. That beautiful forgiveness Baba meeting that Laurent did in April, that you can see. I've done that a couple of times, gone through it. It is a wonderful way of dealing with emotions, because I believe this forgiveness work is some of the most important work I can do. And I'm saying to myself, when I begin to react, when I hear, say, Donald Trump get on there and he's trying, I forgive you. I forgive you. I may not do it 100%, but I'm saying, Baba, please let me forgive him. Please go through my being as I forgive him. I can't do it, of course, just intellectually, but there are a number of exercises that Laurent does. I've never met Laurent, but he does this several processes that after that hour and almost 90 minutes, and I just did it right here on the screen. I was amazed. I think that Baba has really given us an opportunity in a very conscious way to deal with some unresolved things that we have to forgive. Those emotions are, they are so wonderful to let go. Mamma mia, it's wonderful to allow that forgiveness process to work. I know when I did it the first time, it was like a lightness of being, and a lot of lightness. I kept on letting go on that. It's like on. So I just give that gift to you as it was given to me unexpectedly by certain people who I'm very grateful for doing that. It's really phenomenal. Forgiveness is such an important part of letting go of all this, knotted up emotions.
Eventually, we have to forgive the world for
Thank
being
you.
the way it is. I mean, that is really hard.
You said it, Jeff.
I mean, you have to kind of know that it's all a growth in love for everyone. But to actually know that experientially, forgiving, it's hard to forgive the world the way it is. And yet Baba he's doing the best he can with what he's got to work with. Really. Okay. I think Peter was.
Yes, Peter.
Meditation of the heart. When I was told, I don't think I did it just because I was told that I needed to go by no fault of mine. I felt high anxiety, and if I would be told, which I was, just to feel by the heart, I can very easily weasel out of that. That's a no-brainer weasel. Easy peasy to weasel out of. So what I did was I've been spending 20 minutes twice a day doing this meditation. It's what I call first cause meditation. I think that's what I call it, first cause meditation. And when I had the high anxiety, I was a little surprised that when I sat down in the backyard and I got some sun too, I would focus on how I feel and just keep on saying, Bob is feeling this, Bob is feeling that. And every so often I says, well, I don't have to label anything specifically. And then I thought maybe it'll be better if I label specifically rather than not, but I don't want to stress myself out trying to do so. And I noticed that if I went in with stress, I left out more content. I don't want to call it blissful, but I felt like 98 or 85 to 90% of the anxiety left me. And I also, when I was at work one day, I haven't really talked about this much, but I was on my last tour and I started pretending I was teaching somebody something about how fortunate we are to be with the avatar of the age. And I noticed that when I was going home in the SUV or going back to the shop, a lot of my nervousness was just not there. And I was like, usually I'm embarrassed to say, but I fidget a lot. And the fidgeting just wasn't there. And I noticed after a little bit that I was just sensing this relief. And I think Jeff had said it, or somebody, I'm not sure who, this toleration of what's in the heart. Because I can only say I dropped my intention in that general area and just kind of felt within what was going on. And it was like mucky. It was mucky. And I would just feel whatever was there and say, Bob is doing the feeling. And wherever I am, whenever I can remember it, that's what I do. And I have noticed, I don't know if I could say the contentment, because when I moved into my place, I've been living in houses for the last 20 years. And I felt that kind of freedom. And just of late, I'm now in a 370-foot square place. It's not all that nice, but I pay rent on it. I'm still above board. I evaded homelessness, which was nice. So I was texting someone extensively. There was a real chance I was going to be homeless there for a little while. And I asked him to take me out, and I'm still here. So that's part of his plan. And ironically, I think when I talked to him with a capital H, I would be stressed trying to do because I needed to find a place in a hurry. And he made a comment that I'm behind in my schedule, but I'm ahead of his schedule. Like I'm trying to do too much. And thankfully, last weekend, I think, or 2 weekends ago, I was on Effort and Grace, and I ended up having a long conversation after that and got on the meeting after the meeting. And I was nervous about spending that time because I thought I had to do a lot of stuff. And I think apparently I was ahead of Baba's schedule and behind in mine. And it got me very nervous just sitting still and having conversations with people. But again, going back to this, what to me is frightening is thinking about all the things I ever wanted to do in life, like be a doctor, and professionals told me I'm qualified, I'm an intelligent guy, I could be a doctor if I wanted to. I wanted to do other physical feats, and people said, you are capable of doing these things, but no matter what I tried, I wasn't able to. So it goes back to feeling this failure, feeling this uncomfortability. And I don't want to say learning to be content, but maybe it's just learning to be content with where I'm at, what I have, and going down in that center. And I've made it a point of doing that 20 minutes a day, twice a day. And that's been a practice. And dare I say, I think my nervousness over not having is leaving. And when I was afraid of not having a place, somehow it's a theme that's coming into my life. It's just going to work out. May not work out the way I like to, but it's going to work out. So
Yeah. No,
I just kind of want to share. And now
Yeah,
I want to, it's like I want to cry, and I wanted to cry yesterday because I'm not happy with where I'm at, but I want to learn to make do, because this isn't what I wanted for my life, but I guess it's not supposed to be. And I feel utterly powerless on getting more. That's what a frustration is. I feel almost utterly powerless, because if I try and assert myself and assert myself and assert myself to get more, it just feels so not right to me. It just feels exhausting to me and very tiring and very laboring and very fatiguing. So I'm trying to find a happy medium in between there. And then again, when I go down in the heart energy, I like to think Bob has taken it, and at least I'm being left with something more, a little bit soothing. Contentment may be the word for it. I don't know. But I'll leave it at that. Thanks.
Yeah. You're looking at a lot of people who thought they might be able to do a lot of things in this life, and they never happened. We never.
Jeff, what their names, no
so
numbers,
many things
email
we could have
addresses.
done. So many things we could have done and wished they'd done and everything. And here now we're too old to do them.
What I think I want to say is that sometimes when feelings are there for us to contend with, they have a purpose beyond what we can realize. And if we're in our heart, if we embrace them and not be afraid, with Baba in quietude, it brings a lot of help, awareness, purpose, and we evolve in the way we're supposed to. I know it's a struggle in life for all of us. Sometimes we have dreams, because who knows who we were and what we have now to express. We have dreams that we want to fulfill, and it doesn't seem like it's working out. But I know for sure that if we stay with our feeling with Baba and let the negative ones flow through and just hold on to the ones he wants us to embrace in his love, then somehow we're not worried or involved in or using energy to acquire from without, but we're rather unfolding what's already there within us to express, which bottom line is God anyway. We're not there yet, but when you think about it, if we allow the unfolding, then inch by inch, we discover a little bit more of who we really are and how we can be. I always think about your stories, Jeff, about Dr. Kenmore and his story, because he kind of unfolded who he was as a blind person and could see and be very powerful, and then boom, Baba takes it away from him, and he's like, why are you taking this away from me? And the answer is, well, if you were a famous physician, I think I'm paraphrasing you, then you had nothing to do with me, with Baba, and so look at that kind of a story, as somebody so beautifully talented and not even told the truth about who that he's going blind by his parents, and he rejects them, and I guess he had to forgive them eventually, but he didn't tolerate it. He moved on. Boy, that took a lot of courage to move on from folks who are supposed to love you, who don't tell you the truth. So he was standing in truth with all those negative feelings. Baba's truth. He was in truth, really. And look what happened in his life. And from the back, you reverse at the back end. So I think all of us kind of have that kind of process in some kind of way, that we have to be courageous and do challenging things sometimes. And we do them with Baba and with a sense of God, and we land where we're supposed to. So just in my view, I have to remind myself unfold, don't push, because I overdo, I'm an overdoer, and it gets me in a lot of trouble. It does, on a daily basis. And I have to say, stop, be quiet, and just let what's supposed to be unfold. And it helps.
Yeah, beautiful. Yeah, I mean, there's the whole world of emotions, positive and negative.
Yeah,
and
all the time.
behind that are the divine qualities.
Yes.
And if we can tune into the divine qualities that are really at the heart of us, they will be the doers. You know, but it's happening, like you say, it's unfolding from within. You get a divine, one of the divinely human qualities come in of generosity, and then you decide to throw a party for somebody.
Right.
You know, it all happened within, and it all gets done outwardly. But we have kind of a choice at that inner realm, whether we want to go with this positive emotion or negative emotion, or whether we want to go with those divine qualities. If
Right.
we can
And you
wait
said, oh, sorry.
patiently. Yeah.
You said something important a couple times through Effort and Grace, and it's a couple rounds, where Eric, the story about Eric saying, you can get angry if it's appropriate, but don't be angry.
Right. Yeah.
So you can you can experience your feelings, just don't be your negative feelings.
Yeah.
Right?
Don't live them out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't embody them.
So thank you.
Responding to Peter, I have found a lot of times when things fail over and over and over and over again, it's really just the process. And you can, I think there's a quote about Thomas Edison about how many times he tried to create the light bulb, literally thousands of times. And those were thousands of failures. But he did it one more time, and that was the success. So my thought is that when something is not succeeding or what we think should be, I mean, it's our perception of what we think the success is supposed to be. To me, that means that one, that is not the success we're supposed to have. There's something else that we're supposed to do, but we don't know what it is yet. So we're just being redirected, or we need to continue going and see what happens. And sometimes it's a matter of, well, I found this when I was trying to get funding for my dissertation, waiting to see if a grant was going to come through. If it didn't come through, all the years I had worked were going to be nothing, absolutely nothing. And I mean, and it was the end. It was the absolute end. And I remember going to a corner of George Washington Library, sitting down against the back, getting some Chinese food and watching a beautiful sunset. And the next day the check came in. But essentially I had given it up. I had totally surrendered. And those kind of things would have happened to me over and over again when I'm trying to do something. And I finally have to just give up and give it to Baba. I mean, however you want to put it. So I would say two things. One is, wherever you're going, you're not there yet. And there might be a path you don't know about that you're going to take. And that whatever it is, to surrender it and just pray about it. And then be receptive and open, then the river might begin to flow. I mean, that's all I would say. I don't know if that's helpful, but I hope so. Thank you.
Hey, I'm thinking we got Larry Pesta here. Larry had, there's a very, going to say almost like the provisional ego, how he kind of approaches the day, and I think it's well worth hearing, because this is kind of some of the culmination of what we're trying to do here. I don't know, Larry, if you can.
Is this the Swami thing?
Yeah, the Swami thing. Because
Oh.
I think it's very I think it's very helpful to hear this.
Well, when I was living in San Francisco years ago, I belonged to the Vedanta Society. And I had been going there for a few years. I actually was kind of an adjunct member. I went there mostly for my education because it was so interesting to listen to the Swami, and I learned as much as I could about Eastern religion, which was new to me at the time. And I had been going there for a long time, and everyone seemed to be having appointments with the Swami of the order. And so I thought it was probably a good idea if I finally had an appointment with him. So I made an appointment. And I really didn't even know what we were going to discuss. But I went to my appointment, and the one thing he was concerned about, being a Vedantist, was my meditation practice. And of course, I was a follower of Meher Baba, which I had already told him before. And so one of the first things he asked me about was, so tell me about your meditating. And I thought, oh my goodness, what am I going to say about meditation? And I said, well, Swami, I follow Meher Baba, and so my way of meditating is, we're told to meditate a little bit differently. And he said, what do you mean? And I said, well, when we get up in the morning, we're supposed to think, Meher Baba's getting up now. And when you get out of bed, you're supposed to think Meher Baba's getting out of bed. And when you go to the bathroom, Meher Baba's going to the bathroom. Meher Baba's having breakfast. Meher Baba's going to work now. And I said, that's what he taught us. So I don't know, that's what I do. I don't know if I'm meditating. And the man looked at me, the Swami looked at me, and he said, this is what you're told to do? And I said, yes. And he said, and you don't think you're meditating? Well, I don't know, Swami. And he said, you are practicing one of the highest forms of meditation available, is what you're doing. And I said, I am? And he said, of course you are. Anyway, I walked out of there and I thought, well, Meher Baba didn't teach me any specific form of meditation, but he taught me the highest form. That's a good teacher. Jai Baba.
Beautiful. See? Wow.
That's great.
That's the, provisional ego, lived, It's well worth hearing it, because I call that plan A. If we can get to plan A, you have quite a different life, and it's very beautiful.
It's just remembering to do that. That's the problem.
Just to do that. And every little thing. And yeah, it's great. Thank you, Larry.
You're welcome.
I always benefit hearing that.
Yeah, great story.
Very touching.
Gabriella?
So jumping back a little to when Peter was talking and a few comments after that, it made me think about contentment, and that there are moments, specific moments in one's life, but also looking over our whole lives. And I was thinking about my mom, who, as you all know, she's been really ill. And by the way, I'm finally in the system to get my passport. So there's some hope now that I'll actually get there. But somebody said something, not a Baba lover today, but at a different Zoom session, that really, I loved it. It basically, she was saying, if you look at your life overall, you can see all these wonderful experiences that you had, that, your grandchildren, your children, or experiences as a child, your own parents, and your own education, or moments in life. And she said, if one can look at that over at the end of one's life and feel a contentment, feel a goodness about their life overall, there's so many things to be grateful for. And I was thinking, what a wonderful thing she said for me to try to somehow tip my mother's direction to thinking that way if I'm possibly able to, because this distress that she's in of just that she's lost everything. She's lost her abilities to talk. She's mentally watching everything and so frustrated. But if she could have that moment of contentment, looking at her life, and there's many details to look at in that way. So anyway, it just made me think about that too with regard to you, Peter, that probably so many amazing things. If you look at your life, yes, this has been there's been difficult setbacks recently, but there's also moments in time, moments with Baba, moments in nature, moments with a friend, and just sort of to garner that into our souls. And I speak for myself. I'm not trying to preach to you. I certainly experiencing this myself too. And that piece of the contentment, that's something again about the heart, the piece of heart that we're talking about today. Thanks.
Beautiful. Yeah, there are a lot of people that at the end of the day just go over all the things during the day that they are grateful for. It's a very loving practice. Yeah.
And Ray?
I was thinking for Peter, Papa tells us, and we see Hafez and talking about the friend. He says, I'm your best friend. And your best friend will sit down with you over a cup of coffee. And that's, I texted Pete. I wasn't sure if he would read the chat, so I'm repeating it here. Yeah, when you go with your buddy and you got a lot on your mind, your best bud sits with you over the coffee, and you unload. You get pissed. You yell. I'm sorry, I'm not yelling at you, but and he understands, and then he might give a certain sort of insight, or maybe he'll just listen. But the fact that you're able to sit with someone that you love and loves you, and just tell them how frustrated you are with the way things are turning out, it's driving you mad. This is invaluable. And Baba says, you can do that with me, And Darwin says, the more you feel, the more you heal. Well, if you're feeling it and you're really angry and you're able to talk to your best bud, and your best bud is the Lord of the universe, that's what my brother's going through something similar. He's at the end of he's like going to retire, and he's starting to feel that he didn't do this, he didn't do that. His name is Peter too, by the way. And I gave him the same thing. Sit down in the morning, go into your meditation place, make one up, bring your cup of coffee, and just complain. Tell him how you feel, because that's what he wants. He says, I don't want your bananas. I don't want your coconuts. I want the stuff that I don't have. So that's what I do. That's what I told my brother to do. And you're like a brother. You're my Baba brother. That's what I'm telling you to do. Just sit down in the morning. It doesn't have to be a long time. Bring your cup of coffee. Every morning you go to Dunkin' Donuts, or you go to someplace else. You're with him, and just tell him how pissed you are. Because that's how you feel, and it's real. Just tell him. He's your bud. That's what I got to say. Thank
Beautiful. You. Great. He's right there at our elbow if we actually could realize. Watching with us along here, we could actually ask him for help, Oh boy. Yeah.
Great. Love it. And Mahu?
Yes, I something happened quite painful for me last 2 weeks. And Jeff, I remembered your sharing about Fred Winterfield.
About what?
About, am I saying it correctly? Fred Winterfield?
Yeah.
Yeah. When he was staying at the center, and he was going through so much pain and suffering. Yet when you went suddenly to see him, he said something that just changed your world, you know, related the pain with love. And that, you know, had stayed with me. And this week it came to me again. And I said to myself, if I go to Effort and Grace meeting, I'll ask Jeff to say this one more time, just the incident of you going to his cabin and the exchange that happened. Only if you feel like it, I think it make a difference in our lives.
Yeah. Okay, she's referring to Fred Winterfeld, Fred and Ella. They were very dear, long-time followers of Baba from the 40s. And they came down eventually to live at the center. And Fred, in the morning, he had I actually sit in this chair in the morning. He had a chair that he would, and he had two chairs. He would sit in one, and Baba would appear in the early morning, and he would have these conversations with Baba, especially about the people in the nearby community and the troubles they were having. And it was quite extraordinary that sometimes you would come in the evening to sign in at the gateway, and he would take a particular person aside and say, "Now, how are you doing?" You know, and you know, he would know through Baba, you know, what you were going through. No one else may have known at all, and he would, you know, he would basically say what Baba had told him, and say he saved marriages and all sorts of things, he and Baba. But anyway, at a certain point, he got, well, what cancer was it? The inoperable kind of cancer.
Pancreatic.
Pancreatic, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, I was
He
going to
got
say.
pancreatic cancer, and he started going, you know, to down in Mexico, Laetral, and all of these things. He was trying with Baba to help him, and he tried and he tried. I think a couple of years went by. He was actually he thought Baba would be able to help him, and eventually he got into so much pain that even those little sessions with Baba in early morning, he was in so much pain he couldn't even experience that anymore. And you know, he told me he just felt like Baba was not helping him. And and so I used to go there at the end of work and work on his legs just vigorously, so it would take away from the pain that he was experiencing, because he didn't like to take morphine, because morphine was affecting his intimacy with Baba. So he would just avoid morphine as long as he could, enjoy the company of Baba, and then the morphine would just, you know, create hallucinations and all that. So anyway, I'm just leading up to this. So he was kind of hurt by, you know, that Baba didn't help him in this great state of need. One day at the end of work, I went by, and I could, from inside, I was outside, and I could hear him moaning in great pain inside in the living room. He and Ella were sitting there. And I was kind of debating whether I should go in with him in that condition. But I decided to poke my head. I poked my head in, and Ella said, you know, he's in too much pain and everything. And so I started to turn, and Fred held up his hand, and he said, "Love alone prevails." And I knew what he was saying. He was saying that all this time I've thought that Baba was not loving me. This is his love. It is only his love. He was standing up for Baba's love for him. And as I turned around to head out, again he said, you know, again I say, love alone prevails. So he had come to that understanding that it is all Baba, that Baba was, the pain was Baba's love, that it is all Baba. And afterwards, I went over to Kitty's. She asked me how Fred was doing, and I told her what I just related to you. And at the time, she was working on her book, you know, on her book, and that became the title of her book, Love Alone Prevails. It's very hard to get to that point where everything is Baba's. Everything is Baba's love. Very hard to get that experientially. You can know it through what Baba has said and everything, but to get it experientially, that happened for him. Yeah. Yeah.
And Paula?
Huh. Well, that's something to follow. Evidenced in Baba's work, and I think in our lives. I don't know if Baba said this. I think he might have. The greater the opposition, the greater the results. And we've all had a lot of opposition in our lives. You know, it's a balancing act, trying to figure out where to go next and what to do. Yeah, so anyway, that was just what I wanted to say. Sometimes that's the way Baba works, and he wants us to find our way through it.
Yeah. And the where to go next is into the present.
Yeah, you know, I wasn't going to say this, but I don't know what happened to Mahu. I don't know what the last 2 weeks are about. I think for me, it's become a comedy of errors, because 2 weeks ago, I fell down my stairs and broke little pieces of my back. It's like, and I was laying there in the middle of the night on my stairs because I took my dog out, and it was like, Baba, oh, Baba, what have I done now? What is this? Sometimes it feels like he's given me a big slap on the back, and it's like I jumped right out of my body, and I'm having a hard time getting back into it. But anyway, you know, gosh, I am not good at this computer. Anyway, so I don't know. And so there's, and part of what's happened in my life too is it's like I would start something and Baba knocks it off right away. He doesn't let me go very long doing things. You know, it's like I'll have a plan and I kind of quit plans because they never work.
Quote plans.
Yeah, they don't work. It's like Baba pretty quickly says, no, I don't think that's right. And he just kind of cuts it off somehow in pretty big ways. Anyway, I just wanted to say that he's funny.
Yeah. And so shall we have a few moments of silence here? I was thinking we're coming down to the end of this book, as we have mentioned, and some of you express all different feelings about whether we should continue. One of the things I gathered from when we were talking about it last week, I felt this is a very safe place. I mean, this environment here is a very safe place, and it may be very rare for something like this to happen on Earth, where people can share, and there's plenty of empathy and, you know, support and everything, that I was more inclined to maybe go on with Effort and Grace, but not have it recorded. I mean, and maybe, you know, and this is just my opinion, maybe just from 5:30 to 7. And maybe if Stu is up for continuing the meditation, anybody can stay afterwards. But I had that feeling. But I don't know if you guys have any thoughts. But that wouldn't be recorded. I mean, we've already recorded this whole journey twice. And so if anybody wants to kind of go through it, you know, the recordings, they certainly can. But this way we could get to get together, and then you don't have to worry about people all over the world knowing what you're going through if you happen to share it. But anyway, I just had a thought there. That's kind of my feeling. But anyone have anything to say?
Very generous of you, Jeff.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's a invaluable space.
It's very loving of you to do. I know that
Let's see what Wendy has to.
You're very capable of your decision. If you really want to do that, I think everybody would be most grateful, and I certainly would love to continue with you and everybody.
Yeah.
It's really
and it might morph into something, but at the same time, it gives a valuable. You know, it's not just winging it. It's also has some kind of profound focus on Baba.
With all due respect to your time period, are you talking so that everybody's on the same page with deference to your schedule and your energy, that we all come in at 5:30 or a little before 5:30 and we end at 7 if Stuart wants to continue, so that your time is very carefully carved out?
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I mean, that's just, you know, you guys, you might want it down to an hour or whatever. I'm just throwing that out as something that I felt. You know what Larry was talking about, which I call Plan A. That's, I mean, some of these other ways of living Baba in our lives. I think we're moving into that, and there's a kind of liberating. I mean, there's even simpler ways of getting to that same profound place, and it may just kind of come. I think it'll evolve as we go through this. Yet again, it's funny. I mean, I've been hearing this for the last 50 years, and it's still always new. You know, I mean, it's not like, oh, I've heard that before. I've read that section, that chapter on meditation. You know, I mean, it's challenging. They're written from a very deep place, and they're written all inspired by Baba and someone who has lived that life, and you know, and has been and actually shared it, wrote about it. Yeah. But yeah, go ahead, Wendy.
There we go. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. I have to, from my viewpoint, I think great idea. I have never felt so connected with so many people at such a deep level, and also to not feel guarded, that I can be me. And I feel other people are doing the same. And it's not just an intellectual thing, like it's becoming part of, like every week I learn something and then I take it into the next week and it's like, you know, this great insight happens. And I'm so grateful for that. I feel Baba's just getting closer, you know, that I can connect with him like that now. And I don't have, for me, because I know I'll never get back to India, it's filled a big gap for me, a really big gap. And I'm so grateful for that. So grateful. And that's another
Beautiful.
story unto itself. But
Yeah, no,
thank you.
lovely.
Thank you, everybody. And I, Jeff, I don't know if you know this or not, and I hope this is appropriate to be able to say it now. Did you know Betty and Bob Brown?
Sure, yeah,
Did you hear he died?
yeah.
Okay, I just found out before I started
Oh,
today.
yeah,
And
yeah.
yeah,
Darling couple, yeah.
yeah, I met her when I was down there the last time, both of them, and we've remained friends back and forth. And yeah, it's too long a story to get into, but anyway, I just wanted to make
Yeah,
sure that,
yeah. I wrote her.
yeah.
her-
Anyway, love
Yeah,
all of you. Thank you. And I'm
yeah,
in. I'm
sure.
in.
And what we have here are many different camera angles, original camera angles on Baba.
Right.
I mean, that's the benefit. You know, it's not like it's a group think. Everybody's got a different angle on Baba, and it's invaluable to hear
Yeah.
the different approaches, because some of them we can use in our own inner life with Baba.
Right.
I mean, it's not like, oh, I've got my way and I can't
Right.
benefit from something that Martha Clancy does with Baba or Jay Sema, you know.
Right.
It's doesn't have to be, it can be very, very varied.
Yeah.
Mahu.
Jai Baba.
Yes, Jay Baba. Yes, Jeff, like Baba said, whatever that paraphrasing is supposed to be said has been said already. It is now the time to leave them. That's what's important. How he's guiding us to get closer and closer to him, because he is the destination. Well, I wanted to suggest two things. First, I wanted to suggest something to Wendy. First, thank you, Wendy, for sharing your heart. There are also other group reading, via zoom.net during the week, that if the topic attracts you and you feel close, those are directly Baba's words, some of them, or it fits your schedule. It's very nice, intimate, cozy, maybe 6-7 people all together. Those are also good meetings if you want to consider, or at least try it once to see if you like it, Yeah,
Thank you.
very. And one thing about this meeting, Jeff, is this meeting and the formation of it, what makes it very special, because it's very harmonious, although we may be able to be coming from different sanskaras or background or city or culture or ethnicity, whatsoever, but still, when we're sharing our heart out, we bring the oneness together. And I think it probably has a lot to do with how Baba wants it to be and how you are coordinating these efforts. That's the one thing. The second thing I wanted to say, Jeff, did you say this Effort and Grace book reading, is this the second time?
Yeah, this is our second time through.
This is your second time, yeah.
On Zoom.
On Zoom. I see.
We did it a couple of times in Myrtle Beach too.
Oh, so you're pro. You can just read it with closed eyes then. No, because I joined in the middle of it, and this is my first time. I was going to suggest, and this is my suggestion, would we be able, when we do our reading, would we be able to read a little bit more than one paragraph, maybe 2 or 3, because sometimes when the question comes up related to that paragraph, when we stop and say, well, does anybody have any question? Darwin has answered it in the next paragraph. Not all the time, but I've noticed sometimes.
Yeah.
So perhaps if we can combine 2 paragraphs or 3,
You're
read
talking
a
about
little bit
sections.
more.
You mean
Sections, yeah.
Sections, yeah.
Sections, yeah.
But
A little more.
sometimes they're distinctly different camera angles,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes we've read two of them, but then they're actually two different approaches, and so it's yeah. I mean, but we'll kind of, I think I'll try to keep that in mind when one thing is answering another, and we can kind of go
Yeah.
through. But sometimes they're actually distinctly different camera angles that he's focusing on, and then it's hard to when you have two camera angles going at once, you know.
You're right. You're right. And I know sometimes I notice you say, well, Darwin later on explains about this and that.
Yeah.
So because you've
Yeah.
read it before and you have a presence with it. Yeah. Whatever that you can make out of it, that's just my suggestion, because we may be able to finish it sooner and then move on to the next book.
Yeah. And we could do breakout groups at the end or something too. So anyway, we still have a little more time to think about this. But, you know, put that on add that to your stew and let it marinate over the next week and see.
Speaking of Stu, will Stu come back and do more meditations?
I mean, he's away on vacation now, but I think so. But he hadn't really committed, but we'll see, because that's a valuable thing. Those meditations can be very valuable for certain internal situations. That
I just want to say that I would highly support his return if he's willing.
Yeah.
Because I think what it does is after you've been through an hour and a half of discussions and your mind is focused on certain aspects of Baba's teachings and also our lives related to those, to meditate on something which actually does involve giving love to others. It kind of seals or maybe brings up a deeper understanding or new insights or whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm not the world's greatest meditator, but I found it very insightful to do. And I don't know. I just think it's a
kind
really
of the experiential. It's getting the experience of a kind of an experience of what has been talked about in a way. The experience that we're moving toward. Hey, well, let's see. I think I've got to go to work. Peter, well, I got Peter Solamasi is got his hand up, but I just will let you know I've got to go to work here in a little bit. Peter.
All right, you got it. I just wondered if, all right, I'll try to make this brief. I was going to ask you something, Jeff, because I heard that there was like a vote and they voted yes. You know, when I think of effort and grace, when I look at my gut response, what the best outcome of COVID was, I look at effort and grace with Jeff Wolverton, Angela doing what Angela did, and I don't think it can really be understood, the challenge level of you two showing up every week doing this. So to me, when I saw you keep on showing up, part of me is like, Jeff, I wonder if Jeff's going to take a break anytime soon. And I didn't want to say anything. So I'm like, Jeff, I really hope you stick to it. I really hope you stick around, but there's absolutely no argument against you taking a break. And I don't know how to say it any other way. That say one of the best outcomes of COVID was effort and grace, although it's been very, very painful. It's been one of the best outcomes. But what was the vote? What did you?
Well, we haven't quite. We'll get around to that. We haven't quite got to that yet. You know, what we'll do, but I think we'll know pretty quickly. After we get to the end of the book, we'll kind of decide then. You know.
What is Jeff's plan? It's somebody put in there Jeff's plan.
Yeah, that's my question too, definitely.
No, I mean, I like I just said a little while ago that we would have, you know, maybe continue this, go back through again, but without it being recorded, and we could show up and go through it. And if you want to, I mean, we can also, it's not fixed in stone. We can, you know, if it morphs into something else, fine. But I think it's an opportunity to share what's going on in us in our life with Baba, and not having to give an edited version of ourselves as we might have to when we're out in the world. You know, here you can just, you know, you can pretty much share how you feel and what you're doing, what Bob's doing in your life. And then the material also activates things that you may want to share. Anyway,
Hey, Jeff,
yeah.
when
Yeah.
you say this plan, I mean, are you saying that you are going to be with us still for another rounds? I'm thinking you deserve, honestly, you deserve a break.
It's not, the break I need is not from this. The break is just all the work and everything that I've, I basically is a vacation. Everybody needs a vacation. It's not like,
right.
And I'm going to get I hope I'm going to get a couple of weeks here. After we come to this, I'll have some time off. I'll come back, you know, with an iron lung and a walker and everything.
So basically, it's you staying on, just it not being recorded. Yeah, that makes make some
And
degree
then
of sense.
people who might be a little, you know, want to feel a little bit hesitant about, you know, being recorded, well, then that's not a problem. Yeah. Hey, so let's see who let's see if we can get Katie Lawton there, or one of them, to say Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai, and we'll say goodbye. Let's see if there's any of the Lawtons or their little girl. Jolie. Oh, good. Jolie, can you say Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai?
Ready? Say it with me. Come here.
Uh-oh.
She's hiding. Maybe she'll say it from here. Ready? Let's say it. Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Avatar
Meher
Baba
Ki Jai.
Avatar Meher Baba Ki Jai.
Now let's see, Jolie. Come, let her come back on the pit. We got to see her.
Come here.
We got to see. We got to see you.
She just got her hair cut too.
Oh, got her haircut.
Thank you.
Did she get any new a new tooth?
It's coming in slowly but surely.
Oh, good.
Well, William, do you want to come say hi? Come here.
What? When you're our age, they don't come back.
That's right. There's William.
Hey, William.
Hey, William. Nice to see you, William. Oh, here she comes. Where's that missing tooth?
Where's your teeth?
Right there. Oh, okay.
You're both are beautiful souls. Wow. Beautiful souls.
Well,
too.
I'm going to go head down. You guys have a wonderful week. And I'm going to try to do forgiveness tonight at the late night chat.
Okay.
See what people bring to it,
Or a plan.
Yeah.
Love you, Jeff.
Jeff, that's going to be tape recorded, the one on forgiveness tonight?
Yeah.
Right.
It'll be, yep.
Right.
And I had an experience with Baba on that you might find very interesting. Very surprising to me. Something that he said to me in the tomb. Yeah. Okay, folks.
Hey, Baba.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Bye.
everyone.
Hey, Baba,
Hey,
Jeff.
Jolie.
Thank you, Jeff.
Yeah.
Take care, Jeff.
Baba.
You all are priceless. Priceless, I tell you, priceless.